You see, for men, this one maybe women who understand or yeah, that much, unless maybe those who are car enthusiasts. For men, your first car is very important. Like, it's it's the most important thing. It's the only car that you remember of for the rest of your life. And this day I wake up. Actually, I went to see there is somewhere people who do go for car show ground. Actually, by the name of Jamhuri. I went to Jamhuri show ground, all in the name to check and see which cars are being sold there, which cars you can buy. You see, I was there for window shopping. I was window shopping for cars, and because I was like, now I have enough money, I have my driving license, so I can buy my car. I went to Jamhuri for window shopping with my friend and my brother. We were two people, two friends and me and brother. So we are four of us. We went for window shopping, and as we are going around, the best thing I had done my research. I knew the kind of a car I want. So what did I do? I went to window shopping to see this car I'm looking for. How much does it range? How much is it worthy? And on top of that, can I be able to secure one? And if I can answer those two questions, then maybe tomorrow or any other day I can go and buy my car. Well, my plan was not to buy the car in that week or even the following week. I even didn't have a plan of buying a car within that month. But all I knew is I have to buy a car. In one of these days, anytime sooner, I'll have to buy a car. So as I'm debating myself which kind of to go and check the car, we arrived at the Jamhuri Showground and start looking around, and the type of a car I wanted, I had two in my mind. I wanted Nissan X-Trail T30 or I wanted Pajero and somehow a Range Rover. So Discovery 2. So I was looking for Pajero, Range Rover and Discovery 2. So what I did after arriving on the showground, I realized Range Rover is not possible because the people who had those Range Rover Discovery 2 were selling them at a very expensive price. Like, it's so inflated, you can get a new car with that amount of the money they were asking for. So immediately I do away with the Pajero. So the Range Rover Discovery 2. So I was left with two options: Range Rover, Pajero, Mitsubishi Pajero or Nissan X-Trail. But my ideal car was Nissan X-Trail because I didn't want a diesel engine. I had a lot of complaint because the fuel which we have in our country is a bit of high sulfuric, so you find it damaging this diesel engine. So I didn't want a diesel so much, but I was considering Mitsubishi Pajero. But as I'm going loud and loud, I realized that Mitsubishi Pajero is out of my league. They are selling it a bit higher than what I wanted to spend. Yes, I had money for that car, but I had a budget. So the Pajero was a bit higher and I was a bit at this level. So what I did, I decided, now let me settle for Nissan X-Trail T30 or that one. Then as I'm going loud, you see, this is your new car, you don't have that enough evidence and knowledge. So as I'm going loud, people are just telling me, no, don't buy T31 or T32, they do have some complication, you go for T30. And being that I don't know anything about car, I went for T30. Where I grew up, I didn't even have, my parents were not driving, so I had no any information about car. But what I had was this car, I like it, and after seeing how it look, I was like, this is the kind of car I want. So I went for T30. And as I'm going around, I managed to get one which I liked. It had everything I want. It had power, it had strength, and well maintained. So as I'm going for transaction, I was like, now this car, I like it. I don't want anyone else to take this car. So what will I do? I wanna pay it today and go home with it, and I wanna go drive in this car. Remember, I finished my driving school like a week. Actually, it was less than a week because I went for my test on Monday. Then the result were out on Wednesday, something like that. Yeah. So and by Saturday I was window shopping. Yes, I had been driving some 2 3 car, but I didn't know any mechanical thing about car. All I knew was, as far as the car is just starting, start and drive wherever you wanna go. That's what I knew. I didn't have any information. So as I'm going on with searching this new car, this is my first car, I came across a car which I really like it, and I went for transaction. But as we drive through to go for transaction, I was just testing it to see how it is, how powerful, how strong, how good this car was, and it ticked all the boxes I was looking for. So I went for a drive, for transaction, sorry. So upon arriving to the office, we had a sales agreement. We signed them. They signed and I signed, and my witness. And it was my time to transfer money to their side so that they can give me the key and drive off, and give me the logbook of the car. So as I'm trying to transfer money, the money was not going through. Then when I'm calling my bank, the bank is telling me, oh, you know what, we had a maintenance and sorry we didn't inform you, so you cannot transact certain amount of money. And the money they were saying, I was in that bracket. So I knew automatically today I would not be transacting anything. So what did I do? I went home actually very disappointed. I was someone who was sure of will be driving home, only to go back home in a taxi, and it's like, oh man, I wish I would drive. The following morning I waked up very early in the morning and I was in the sales yard. We finalized the payment. But remember, next time you are going to buy a car, make sure you have your money to buy it, because as we left on Sunday to go home so that we can come back on Monday to finalize, what these people did, they didn't change anything big, apart from they took the battery which came with car. That was the actual battery of the car, the correct one, the one which is strong and whatever. So what they did, the following on Sunday we could start and stop, and the car was starting at ease. But all of a sudden, the following day, Monday, the car is having issue to start. When we ask, they tell us the car have no issue, but the battery is a bit loose. It's a small battery, and when you check at that battery, I think that battery was for a motorbike. It's a small battery which have been squeezed and which has been input in this huge space which was supposed to be holding this bigger battery of this car. So that was one thing. Second off, I was happy. You don't care. You are like, okay, I have money. I can go and buy battery. I buy the battery and put in the car, and the car started doing what it's supposed to do. It was starting at ease. Then I went and fuel, and after fueling, remember it's my first time to drive with my boys and my brothers, and we decided, you know what? Let's go for a joyride and feel how this car it is. And immediately, my brother was the one who was driving the car. We entered the highway, and one in one, we started our journey and drive at a very high speed. But as we are driving, my brother started realizing there is a point where we are reaching and the car lose all the power. Instead of when you step on the acceleration, the car to accelerate, it is decelerating. Actually, it is losing power. What is going on? Then after driving, we are driving. Then after some few, maybe 4 5 minutes, we have reduced power. Then it start accelerating again. You see, the best thing is we were at a high speed, so even if it started decelerating, we find ourselves, we allowed 80 kilometers per hour. Then the power come back. We continue going. That's how we went until to a point where we reach. It couldn't even accelerate. It doesn't matter how much you take, it couldn't accelerate. So we exited from the inner lane of the road to the outer line of the road. In case it have an issue, we can be able to exit easily. And remember, this is a highway. You have to drive until where you find an exit. Failure to that, in Kenya, you find yourself being turned away by the government, and you pay some fee because you have blocked one lane. And there is this friend of mine, there is this one guy who is a friend of mine. This person has been driving for a bit, quite long. He has been owning car for a long time. And he asked, wait a minute, you see the car is losing power, yes. Okay, what do you see when you check on the dashboard? We realize that the car has overheated, and that's why whenever we wait for like 5 minutes, it can start and go because it have cooled down, but right now it has overheated. And we are like, man, we didn't check whether it had coolant. And me and my brothers and that one guy who because at the crew of 4 people, it's only one person who knew anything about the car. We are like, what do you mean about coolant? You see, to our mind, we expected the fact that the car has the battery to start, and also the car has fuel, then it should be able to drive. No one told us that we have to check on oil, coolant, things like that. So as we are driving all this way without checking. I guess the car didn't have coolant. It had coolant actually. The issue was the car, one of the fuse was not working for the main fan. So the only fan which was kicking in is the smaller one, which most of the time does not do the job effectively. So you see, right now we have one fan which is not working, but we have been driving this car which has overheated all this far. What happened was, I think now the coolant starts leaking because after a long drive, there is this gasket which separates fuel, oil and something. I think that is the work of gasket, had burned on. So you could find that now the coolant and the oil, they are mixing up. So when we exited the highway, we went to one of the service center and asked this guy, and all this time we don't know whether it's the issue with the coolant. So we asked him, our car is not starting, but it had overheated somewhere when we were driving coming this way. And this guy is telling us, has it calmed down? Has it cooled down? Yes. So he told us, you just add some water to act as a coolant for now and drive off. And that's what we did. But as you are starting the car, you could hear that it have some difficulties in starting. So what do we do? Before the car can start, you have to push in accelerator as much as possible, fuel pedal as much as possible, so that the car can have excessive fuel, so that it can be able to start. That's what we were doing. You push the acceleration pedal in very hard as possible, so that the car can be able to release a lot of oil, so that it can start. We did that. It had some issue starting, but it started. Then because we have put some coolant, we had to drive another like 20 kilometers without any issue. Before we drove up to where we were dropping my brother. Actually, we dropped him. Then after coming out, to start our car so that we can proceed with our journey, because we were not living at the same place. The car didn't start again. Now we have another dilemma. We try, the car has cooled down, it's not starting. Then we realize it doesn't have any coolant. We put some, we did put some water, and the car didn't start. When we called another car expert, he came in and told us, oh, you know what, the issue is not gasket, the issue is, I think that guy even didn't know there is something like gasket. He told us the issue is that seal. You see this top seal, which the seal which the reed, actually not the seal, the reed which you cross the top of the radiator so that it can keep the coolant inside. He told us that the issue, and that's where the coolant is evaporating from. And we bought a reed, and we drove again. The car actually started after we bought a reed, and waiting for 20 minutes after that it started. Remember, the first guy we paid for the information and for some help. Now this is a second guy we have paid. We started our journey. We drove all that time very happily. The car has no any difficulty starting. We drove for another 20 kilometers. We dropped the second guy, who was my friend. Now it's me, the owner of the car, and one of my friend. So we are driving all the way toward home, so that I was supposed to drop this guy, then I proceed with journey. But in between the journey, in between where we dropped my friend and where I live, the car started having some difficulty actually accelerating, and it's heating up. We put some coolant, it's still heating up. Before we can know, we are a bit in the wilderness. Actually, we were kind of in the forest, and the car stopped. We had to wait for 1 hour for it to cool down. Then we started our journey. And at this time, we are like, the next service center we find, we are just letting the car stay there. So what do? After 1 hour, we start the car. But at this time now, this car, it's not only having the challenge to start, it's not only having issue to start, but it also it was just vibrating like a tractor. You see, there is a way a car vibrates very smoothly. This one, it's vibrating like it's jacking up. You see, there is a way it's vibrate, even the car is vibrating all over. The engine is jacking up as if it wants just to run away. Man, and we are like, and even the vibration which is coming out of this exhaust, it's not the best. Because there is a way the car vibrates smoothly. This time loud, it's like tot, 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 tot. So what we do immediately as it allow us to start. We start driving. The best thing, it did stop on the top of the hill, so it was going down the hill. We were using service lane. We didn't want to get in anywhere close to the highway because we don't know what will happen, so we use service lane. It reached to a point we decided if we continue with this car, we might have to change and repair the whole engine, or we might have to buy a new engine. So what did we do? We even didn't make it to the service center where we wanted to leave the car. We find a petrol station somewhere. We went there, put some coolant, the car didn't start. We put another coolant, it didn't start. This time loud, even the gasket have burned off to an extent that it cannot hold any coolant. Any water which is going to the engine so that it can cool down, it's just evaporating immediately. So you could put some water as a coolant. Within 2 minutes, you don't have any coolant in that engine, in that car. So we asked these people, okay, now because it seems that we cannot go anywhere, can we leave this car? And they're like, no, you can park the car, but we don't promise you the security of the car. So what we did with my friend, we decided let's sleep in the car. And because this friend of mine had a good mechanic who understood Nissan, will be coming tomorrow. But remember, as we were leaving the house to go to buy a car, actually no one intended to be outside beyond 4 p.m. in the evening. So I was sure of I'd be back as early as possible. There was no one who had a jacket. And I can tell you, during the night, the worst place to be is in the car. And also a car which is not starting. Because you cannot put AC on. You cannot put heat on. You see, the battery cannot support that kind of heating and something like that. So the car, at least, it should be on, so that you can maybe put the AC on. We don't have that luxury of the car to be on. So we are left on with just to stay in the car and have warmth from maybe waiting for some vendor to come around, sell coffee to buy, or just wearing jacket. None of us had jacket. I can tell you, before the morning can come, that was the worst night I've ever been in it. I slept for 2 hours, and when I'm waking up, it was around 2 a.m. in the morning, and I'm like, man, I expected it 7 a.m. in the morning. Like, from there, I started helping those service center, those petrol, people who work in the petrol, in the fuel center, because I can't sleep, I can't stay in the car. I was loitering around with the watchmans and those attendants of the petrol station. And after some few hours, then our guy arrived. He actually repaired the car, and the car started and worked very well. And from that day, it have never bothered me. But after a long time, that when after some few days driving the car and being able to interact with 2-3 things about the car, that when I was like, if this car couldn't overheat during that time, it would overheat during another time. Why? Because I don't understand, I don't know anything about car. So even if it wouldn't heat during that time, it would heat it because I didn't know whether the car need oil. I didn't know even the car whether need air filter, oil filter change. I didn't know anything need to be changed on a car. All I knew was, as far as the car has fuel, you can start and drive. I don't know whether we can say it's stability, or because I had never interacted in any kind of a car where I'm being seen people changing oil or something like that in earlier days of my life, but that is something I learned through hard way. At least next time you wanna do something, have an information. A little bit of information. I want to go and buy a boat. Know that a boat need this, they need this, they need this, they can be changed this. If you have this kind of an issue, it's this. Because actually I can tell you, I could see a dashboard where it have all indicator, fuel gauge, everything, temperature gauge and whatever. But if you could ask me which is which, I don't know. Actually, the only one I knew it for fuel gauge, because when they were fueling, I did see it going up, so I knew it fuel gauge. The other one for speed and whatever. But that one for temperature, I had no any idea. So, and I know maybe those people who grow up with cars cannot understand anything like that. But if you have ever find yourself in a situation where you have something for the first time and you have never ever interacted with it, then I know you are my man or my woman. You can understand whatever I'm saying. Thank you. Subscribe, like, and comment. Peace.